Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today, we finna react to Kurt Angle's final days in TNA. This should be fun. Without further ado, let's get right into it. His final days in TNA. I wasn't really watching TNA around this time frame when he was pretty much on his way out. 2011 was like the last straw for me. After 2011, that was kind of like I was just here and there every once in a while. But I didn't know that Kurt Angle was going crazy in TNA. Everybody was telling me like, bro, you gotta watch TNA, bro. Kurt Angle going crazy over there, bro. Like he be putting on 5-star matches and everything. I was like, oh word, bet. So I went ahead and watched a couple of them, but I'm not very fond of his final days though. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Kurt Angle's TNA run had finally run its course. He had accomplished everything he could there and without a doubt was a top 5 wrestler in the company's history. The only person I would actually put above him is AJ Styles, and that's because of how connected and close he was to the name of TNA. Yep. Accomplishments-wise and impact, Kurt Angle has him on that. He was one of the biggest highlights of the company's history and a man they centered the show around. By 2014, he was a 5-time TNA World Champion, won every title in the company, and it seemed like he was out. Angle was still able to put on good matches at the time. That would change a couple of years later, but here he was non-stop just going out there and having 20-minute matches like they were nothing. At the time, he was considering going back to WWE because there was a lot of unfinished business that needed to be dealt with. But WWE thought that he should have a full-time deal, which was clearly never going to benefit Angle, seeing as the rough schedule played a strong part in his personal problems. Here's what he had to say in an interview, and I quote, "Paul Levesque is in charge," said Angle. "I found that out when I contacted Vince. I've always had a good relationship with Paul, so I didn't consider that a problem, but he decided they had enough talent. They offered a full-time deal in a time where they were constantly bringing in icons and legends from the past and signing them to part-time deals." Angle wasn't too upset by this, but it's unfortunate that it didn't happen here because he was ready and able to put on long matches. It would have worked very well for him because unlike his later return, Angle...
He could have helped out so many young people. Like, imagine him coming back when the Shield was around, when Bray Wyatt had the Wyatt family, when Randy Orton and then was running game with the Authority, when John Cena was still full time. You know, Brock Lesnar was pretty much coming into his own. Imagine Kurt Angle being there. They could have did, bro. They had so many great storylines that they could have did with Kurt Angle, bro. Yeah, they be tripping, bro. They be tripping, bro. Yeah, Triple H be tripping, bro. Come on, dog. Y'all dropped the ball on this one. I would have said, yo, you work? You try to come back? Work? All right, come back then. Shit. I would have let him come back, hands down. I would have gave him as much time as he needed, bro. For sure, he deserves it, bro. Kurt Angle deserves it.
Wasn't just playing the role of a general manager. That ruined him a lot because he stopped being used to the struggle. Angle had no problem going back to TNA because they did well with him and showed him respect and honor even with his problems throughout the years. At that time, he finally returned and had to take matters into his own hands. So, let me explain this long story short. Angle at the time was in an authority role for TNA. He booked matches and stuff. He's basically like Kane was for the Authority back then, but as a face. He made his return on the first Impact episode of 2015. He booked a bunch of matches, but then got provoked by MVP. MVP was a dominant heel in TNA at the time, not for his talent, but for his power. He made fun of Angle and called him a has-been. Angle said that he was stepping down from his position, but said he was back as a wrestler, and the last match he booked was a match against MVP, and it was going to be a street fight. The match happened then and there. Angle overwhelmed him early on, and he did get back into it, but this was never going to end any other way, with Angle scoring the win. It was very rugged and rough, which fit in line with their attires. It was a pure fight. One thing to know is that he didn't steamroll through MVP. Angle went back to work as a wrestler again, and his first match back was against Samoa Joe. It didn't seem like their storyline had any effect or influence. It was like both men never even had a feud before, and that's mostly because of how Samoa Joe was booked in TNA. I obviously think that when these two face off, it should feel like a flashback to the past. This match obviously served the bigger picture, that picture being the beatdown clan. Joe cheated to win, and they attacked after the match. Bobby Roode made the save for his good friend Kurt Angle, and this all led to a big lockdown main event match. TNA had a lot of problems at the time, so this show was a part of Impact. It was something weird they did at the time where they didn't have many pay-per-views throughout the year, so they'd put them on TV. Bobby Lashley got betrayed by MVP, and Angle courted him to join him in his battle against the BDC. Lethal Lockdown was pretty big and a pretty good main event. The heels had a strong hold on the match. They seemed untouchable, but Bobby Lashley proved to be the difference maker. There was doubts about his status, but when it came down to it, he was up for the task and provided the key to victory for the faces. Lashley barely sold a low blow. He was booked strong here, and Team Angle emerged victorious. His eyes were once again back on TNA's most coveted gold. The tension between him and Lashley grew after they lost a tag team match against MVP. So at this point, it was all about the World Championship. A 20-man gauntlet match was held with the winner getting a title shot against the champion. Funny enough, he was already number 1 ranked on the contenders list, which I think is strange because he had just returned to in-ring competition. Angle made it to the end with MVP, his biggest rival at the time. The BDC were causing problems here while Lashley, the champion, watched on. It was a heated battle with the Edge going to Kurt Angle. The Beatdown Clan, though, made sure to take care of this, leading to the boot from MVP to give him the win and the title shot. Even then, Angle called out the champion for something. He was upset that Lashley didn't come to his aid last week, but he said that it was Angle's fight. Despite the fact that he wasn't the next challenger, he made mention of a match between them. It's very uninteresting for him to see MVP get a shot. He told him that he was going to watch his match and not help at all. Angle didn't help him, but he managed to retain the title. So now the attention was on Lashley's next challenger. It ended up being Kurt Angle. The champion was ready for this one. For the first time ever, Kurt Angle went one-on-one with Lashley. The champion overwhelmed the challenger early on with his power, speed, and aggression. The match itself was pretty good and provided a strong match for Angle upon his return. It wasn't looking bad here at all, and Lashley also showed just how much he improved to be going out there and going back and forth with Kurt Angle. He was at his best up to this point. It also showed how capable Angle was to continue wrestling with the very best around. I still don't get how WWE didn't understand or appreciate that. It showed plenty of resilience here to the point where Lashley started getting frustrated. He played the submission game, which cost him the title. Angle looked so strong here, making Lashley tap out to become a 6-time champion. Now, looking back on this, a lot of people weren't exactly fond or happy. They weren't really mad, but it's like, why? They weren't really happy that Kurt Angle won the title here because he was actually breaking down. Like, even though he had a great match here and he was capable of doing stuff, Angle wasn't the same as he was previously. He was deteriorating slowly, and it would go rapidly a couple of months later. The Olympic hero was so ecstatic over winning the title and felt that this was the toughest to win. It was the proudest moment of his career. A bunch of challengers came out to put their name out there, and Austin Aries had the Feast or Fight briefcase looming over the champion's head, and he was ready for all of the challengers. But the one he wanted the most was Lashley. That was the match Angle was eager to do, and they did it pretty quickly. This one felt slightly different and more grounded, with Lashley walking into as a defender. He was more interested in beating Angle at his own game, as opposed to using his power and intensity, which he would revert back to later on. This is a good match, but their first one had something special about it. It was one of the very best Lashley matches in his entire career, and something I consider to be top 5. Angle did have a tremendous sell and kick out of the spear. Wonderful stuff here. The challenger was more prepared here, but Angle still managed to pull something out and barely beat Lashley with a roll-up. It was set up as a controversial finish, with the referee Brian Hebner not noticing that his shoulder wasn't down for the count. Angle quickly addressed this and said that the match could have gone either way. Even then, he was well aware of these issues and called out Lashley. The former champion said something didn't feel right and mentioned how Angle didn't actually win. Angle looked somewhat disappointed and deflated because his win wasn't actually a win, so it meant that they were going to run it back again. The Olympic hero was up for the fight because to him, it wasn't going to be a problem to beat him again. He wanted it tonight, but Eric Young got involved. Young had been involved in the title picture over the last few months and said he was the number 1 contender. Lashley didn't want to hear anything coming from him and was still selling great and told him to earn his spot. Drama unfolds and Lashley accidentally speared the champion. This was enough for a triple threat match. Now, with that said, this was a very normal triple threat match. The action was decent. Angle was still selling great, taking this pile driver, which looked amazing. Other than that, though, there's not much to say about this one. It never got boring, which is always a great thing, but it just wasn't much. It was nice to see Lashley and Angle battle again. These two should have been explored a little more in TNA. I think that's unfortunate because it could have been Impact's best program that year and something they could send to the show on. He beat Lashley here and pinned him after a moonsault, and this also showed that Impact was more focused on a feud between Kurt Angle and Eric Young. He took out Lashley after the match, and this allowed for him to make a one-on-one challenge to the world champion. He had enough of the constant callouts and told him to fight. Young though said that he saw a man that was holding something that belongs to him, a man that could be beat. The man was losing over that title. He was just going crazy. Angle told him to bring his very best, and he gave him a free shot to be a coward and attack him from behind. He backed off. There was another threat over Angle at the time. Austin Aries with the Feast or Fight briefcase. He took Young's title match, and this only drove him to cause trouble once again. The champion let him know that he's the number 1 contender. Eric Young had enough of the people taking his title shots and destroyed Aries with a pile driver on the outside. He followed with another on the steps, and Kurt Angle had to come out to prevent any more damage. So he tried to take him out. This brought out something else in Kurt Angle for hardcore justice. For some reason, this was a stretcher match and it wasn't for the title. I think it's because Eric Young having Angle's number is far more interesting than just having him challenge for the title. This is pretty good. It was a battle, a fight that highlighted how far Eric Young would go to take out his opponent. He won the match, which meant that the title match had more drama to it. That was basically what it was. Now, this match was too much for a normal referee to officiate, so it was going to be Bully Ray. Young was paranoid about being screwed over again, but he assured him that he's here to ref the match. This match is very overbooked and dramatic. Bully Ray, despite being attacked by Young during the match, didn't retaliate and instead left it to Kurt Angle, who found a way to retain the title. The Rising played a strong part in the win, leading to a chaotic main event the following week. Drew Galloway had plenty of great words for Kurt Angle, telling him that he's one of the very best of all time. It's funny seeing him here. He was becoming more and more convincing as the months went by, because after he got released from WWE, people thought he didn't deserve to get released. He was trying to prove him wrong here, and it was slowly working. TNA's faction wars was still hot at this point, with the BDC being the strongest team in the company, with only the Rising posing a threat to their dominance. Eric Young associating with them meant Angle had to go the other way for the time being. They were going to face off in an I Quit match for the title, but here it was all about the hardcore tag team main event. Good main event here that saw the heels win. Eric Young though left the most important part for after the match. He took Chris Melendez's prosthetic leg and choked out Angle with it. At this point, tensions were the highest they had been, and both men wanted to destroy each other. For Young, it was about the title, but it was an entirely different story for Kurt Angle. Who the hell is he going to secure? He can't even secure himself. The match was just there. I just saw that the Wrestling Observer rated it nearly 4 stars, and I was shocked because it didn't have that kind of quality to it. It's more like a 2, 3, 4th, or 3-star match. Angle beat him and the feud was over. I didn't have much to say about it because it wasn't that good. Eric Young played his role well, but it feels like that wasn't enough, and Angle's run had some good matches to it, but he'd gotten older at this point. He was still good when he could be, but because he wrestled so often, that started to take away a bit from him. Ethan Carter III had enough of being in the shadows. He finally got a title shot after being undefeated for 591 days.
Dang.
Number 1 was the utmost importance to Carter. He came from a family of success and he had to make good on it. The only thing left was the World Heavyweight Championship. Angle couldn't wait to shut him up, but said that while Carter is in line to be the challenger for the title, he was more focused on Destination X to possibly face Rockstar Spud for the title. He's the X Division champion and he's got the chance to trade in the title for a shot against Kurt Angle. He's a big enemy of Carter, so it was already annoying for him to be behind him in line, not to mention it being his biggest rival. He turned in the shot, but then all of a sudden Austin Aries came out to tell everyone that he's cashing in the Feast for Fired briefcase. This meant that Angle just might have 2 title matches for Destination X. Ethan Carter III was irate to get the title shot, but it had to be pushed back once again. So he's gonna go on strike in the middle of the ring. The strike didn't last for long, just like him on the main roster in WWE, because Kurt Angle interrupted. Again, he had enough of him complaining. Carter didn't back off and was threatened by Angle, who told him to take a shot. That didn't happen, and instead Rockstar Spud came out for his match. This was going to be very different to Angle's other matches because Spud was a much faster wrestler that could bring out the quick pace and great selling. He had a moment, but Angle overcame the challenge to set up a main event against Austin Aries. Once again, EC3 was still enraged over this whole situation. As for the main event, let's just put it this way. We forget just how good this man was in ring. Austin Aries was one of the most notable talent of his generation, and nowadays he's forgotten because of the many incidents he's had over the years. I'd go as far as to say that this was the best match in Angle's title reign. The match he won the belt was better, but this holds its own. Aries was doing everything he could to avoid the angle lock, but he always found himself in the hold. The challenger was taking high risks that didn't pay off, and it was another successful title defense for Kurt Angle. Ethan Carter III didn't waste time in taking out Angle to put his name out there. Both men went face to face the following week. EC3 called him the best of all time because he's beaten everyone put in front of him. However, all of those guys have been beaten. EC3 hasn't. Angle mentioned that he's been here before, whereas Carter still hasn't gotten a glimpse into what being in the main event was about. They signed the contract and chose each other as his opponent. Angle gave him Lashley. EC3 on the other hand gave him Matt Hardy. They both won their matches, but it was EC3 who couldn't wait until their match to attack. It didn't work out well for him though. As for their match, it was one of EC3's best in Impact Wrestling and something he should be proud of. They made him look strong for the most part, having an almost clean victory to establish himself as the new champion. EC3's win was a bit dirty, but it wasn't too dirty, and the conclusion was mostly clean, so there's that. It was good stuff here. There's plenty of drama. Angle quickly exercised his rematch clause to the following week. That match went for 3 minutes and saw the new champion look out of his element. EC3 got himself disqualified, and they did one of those I had him down finishes where Angle made him tap out. He moved on quickly from the storyline because Angle went away for a while. He cut a promo about how EC3 does deserve to be champion, but was upset about how he got screwed over the previous week. Despite this, he was going to get another rematch for the title, whenever he wants, and this is when he revealed he had a tumor in his neck which would leave him sidelined for a while. Eric Young took advantage of this and said that the next time he pile drives Angle might be the last one left in him. He attacked him. Angle's ready for a fight, and it was very close to going bad, but then Chris Melendez made the save, and Eric Young dropped him with a pile driver. This was done as a way to allow Angle to go away. He obviously had a contract that was expiring soon, so plans were made for his return to be a farewell one. Angle's contract was only for 1 year, and he had made it clear that he was going away afterwards. Angle's return came out bound for glory 3 months later against Eric Young. He had caused troubles with Angle's allies, and this led to a no disqualification match. Unfortunately, the Angle everyone knew was fading. He was not the same, and this match is a prime example of that. From time to time, he was capable of something, but it was becoming less and less likely. He wasn't selling his injury well here, and watching Angle, at times it looked like he was in pain, and it wasn't a good match. Other than that, Angle did win here, and he was on his way out. He had a handful of matches against the likes of Drew Galloway, Matt Hardy, and Lashley. His best singles match was against Drew, but it was never going to be great because of how limited Angle was at the time. People were already saying he wasn't the same as previously, but he was sometimes capable of something crazy, such as his matches with Lashley and Austin Aries. His last match in Impact Wrestling was against Lashley. He put him over as strong as he did with Drew Galloway, and to me, that's the biggest highlight of this farewell run. The fact that he had a decent match with Drew and added something to his story. But yeah, his final match was against Lashley. Put him over and he was out. Lashley did get the win over Angle in his last match, but he ended up turning heel and destroying him. So Angle's final moments in TNA were basically him down on the mat with Drew Galloway. It's a bit unfortunate about that time, you know, you gotta put over talent, so it is what it is. Will I talk about his pre-WWE return run? Yeah, in the next one. So basically, I wanted to make this video because I was gonna make a Kurt Angle WWE return video. If this video does well, we'll just do it this week or next week, easily. But yeah, Angle at the time was slowly deteriorating. TNA obviously wanted to make the most out of him, and they did. I think if Angle was a little more able to wrestle more, they probably would have even put the title on him at the time. He had some good matches here, but he was not the same. His character unfortunately wasn't as charismatic as previously as well. That would show more in WWE once he returned. But yeah, Angle was slowly deteriorating at the time. A lot of people were telling him to retire as well. And obviously, I would have preferred for him to go to WWE, but they didn't really want him at the time. So yeah.
That
what
was
you guys think of
stupid.
Kurt Angle's final days in TNA? Please comment down below. Make sure you hit the Angle sign on the like button and perhaps the Angle lock on the subscribe button. Peace.
Alrighty, man. That just go about do it for this one, man. Sorry. But yeah, man, Kurt Angle's final days in TNA. I didn't know he went out. Hey, he went out with a bang, though. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. He went out with a bang. Got the hold of the title. Took on some of the best talent that TNA had to offer at that time. Like, that's a great way to go out. Minus getting beat the fuck up by Bobby Lashley at the very tail end, but I digress. But anyway, so that's just gonna about do it for this one. I will see you all in the next video. Till then, peace out.